Hello, it's your boy Davidoff. Welcome back to Movie Monday. This week is another top 10 for comic book movies this time. I haven't done this somehow. I don't know how I haven't done this, to be honest. I should have done this by now, but I'm doing it now. It's only Marvel and DC, nothing else. So obviously, those are the two that I obviously watch the most of. There are other franchises too, but it's just going to be Marvel and DC, obviously. So anyway, before my top 10, I'm going to do honorable mentions. Now there's a catch to this honorable mentions. Basically, these mentions, the majority of them would not be in my top 10. A lot of them not even close to my top 10. But I'm still mentioning them because this video is all about appreciating comic book movies, both from Marvel and DC. Movies that I love, movies that I like, movies that I don't think are that good but are actually quite fun. Just movies that I appreciate in the comic book genre. So let's start with some DC. Man of Steel. This gets a lot of hate, and to be fair, I used to hate it as well, but that's mainly because it wasn't really it was a different Superman. I didn't like the change really, but when I actually went back and watched it for what it was, when I watched it on its own merits, Henry Cavill was great, and I loved the movie so much more when I watched it for what it was rather than what I expected. And I think that's the main reason why people don't like it, because it's not their Superman. It's like a different version to what they're used to, and that's why I didn't used to like it, again, as I said. But I think this is a really good movie. When you appreciate it for what it is, it's a really good solo Superman movie that I just like it. I just like it. Every time I watch it now, I like it more and more. It's just a good movie that really grows on me, and it has grown on me quite a lot. And Henry Cavill is a fantastic Superman, and I hope he stays somehow. Next up, Wonder Woman. This was actually 10th place, but the Joker movie knocked it out of the top 10. That is technically a spoiler for my top 10, but it's probably going to be in there regardless anyway. But I didn't tell you where. It could be 9th, it could be 1st. You don't know which. It might not be either one of those either. So I can leave you to guess. Don't skip the video. But Wonder Woman was a good movie. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It was great. Aquaman was a fun movie that I enjoyed. Shazam was a very nice movie. The Dark Knight Rises. For me, this is the weakest of the trilogy. Having said that, it provides an amazing ending. It really does. An emotional ending that fits the franchise, and this trilogy, I just love almost everything about it. Even though the last one's the weakest one, it's still delivered. It's still delivered on some great fight scenes, emotional scenes, fantastic acting, and an emotional ending, which is what this movie needed, and it delivered on that. Superman 1 and 2, Christopher Reeve, great movies. Batman 89, fantastic movie. Batman 66 as well. I did enjoy that movie. That was a pretty fun movie to watch. So yeah. As for Fox and Sony, X-Men First Class, loved it. This is an amazing movie. It introduced Fassbender's Magneto, who is legendary. Fassbender as Magneto is a match made in heaven. Like this, it's like he was born to play that role. Him as Magneto is just so damn good, and I'm hoping that somehow the MCU keeps him as Magneto. I'm hoping that they keep him because he is such a good Magneto, and the way you could explain him in the MCU is he was frozen like Winter Soldier. Let's just say they froze him in World War II. No, maybe not World War II actually, he was a kid back then. So let's say they froze him like a few decades later, and then he wakes up in 2022 or something. Do something like that, okay? I want to see Fassbender in the MCU because he is such a good Magneto. Such a good Magneto. And First Class, for me, he was the best thing about it. But even without him, not without him, but even aside from him, it was a great movie in general. I just loved everything about it. So, yeah, I love it. It's not in my top 10 though, but it was pretty close. The Amazing Spider-Man. Underrated, I think. The second one was bad. I think most of us agree with that one. The first one, though, for me is underrated. I think it was a good movie. It gets a lot of hate, but I think it was solid. Honestly, I think it was solid, and I still think it's solid now, and I still think it holds up. I think Andrew Garfield, he brought something different to the character of Spider-Man, and he was pretty cool as well when he was suited up, and he was a great actor. He is a great actor, obviously, and I think he played Peter Parker well as well. I think he's underrated, and that movie is underrated too. That was a good movie that I appreciate. Also, the first two Deadpool movies. Really enjoyed those. Those were really fun. Alright, MCU. Avengers Endgame. Just like The Dark Knight Rises, what it does is it delivers an emotional and great ending. Now, in terms of Avengers, in my opinion, Infinity War is better, and arguably Avengers is better as well. Endgame is still good, I still like it, and it delivers an emotional ending. That scene of Tony brought a tear to my eye, man. That was just the first time ever there was a tear down my cheek for that Tony and Peter moment. Oh my days, that really hurt me, really hurt me. He had an amazing score. For me, it deserved a original score nomination for the Oscars, because I think the score moved people a lot, and that's what scores are meant to do. And it didn't get a nomination. That sounded weird to me, to be honest. But he had a great score. The last hour, from the moment when the portals open up until the end of the battle, it's just a masterpiece. That part of the movie is a masterpiece. The rest of it is fine. It's not a great movie overall, in my opinion. I think it's still a good movie, but that last hour and the ending, the emotional ending, for me just makes it very special. It's not top 10 for me, but I still think it's a very special movie. Also, The Avengers, a great movie. It put the MCU on the map, really, and I'm glad it worked, and it was a fantastic and really fun movie. One of the best final battles in a superhero movie. Like, it had everything. Like, it was really fun to watch. It was like 40 minutes of just battling in New York. It was fantastic. Iron Man. This is an important movie, started the MCU. It needed to work, and not only did it work, it was great as well. A great movie, and I appreciate it a lot. Guardians of the Galaxy, again, great movie, needed to work as well, and it was fantastic. They tried something different, and they made it work. Captain America Civil War. This wasn't a great one to me, but I think it was very good. I think it was a very solid movie, and also, it was different to what we usually got. The MCU is a good franchise, but some movies are a bit too similar. But sometimes they do things differently. And Civil War and Guardians, these are movies where they do things differently. Civil War is a more serious movie as well, which I appreciated. I do like when the MCU gets more serious, like Black Panther as well in certain scenes, and Winter Soldier. I do like serious MCU. When it does get serious, it's pretty interesting to watch. And Civil War was not just different because of that, but it was different because of the storyline itself, you know, heroes against each other, rather than just one main villain. There was a villain in it, obviously, but it's a bit different. So I did appreciate this movie quite a lot. Doctor Strange, Homecoming, Far From Home, Ragnarok, and Black Panther. None of these are great to me, but I do think they're all good in their own ways. So yeah, none of them top 10 worthy though, in my opinion. Alright, into the top 10. In 10th place I have Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Now, because of this movie, and because of the Raimi trilogy in general, and also because of the XMen movies, the original trilogy, and the Blade movies, because these movies existed, we have stuff like the MCU. Because if those movies didn't work, then everything else wouldn't work either. Like, these movies, they put superhero movies back on the map. They put them on the map, they increased the popularity, and this paved the way for the MCU and the DCEU, etc. to exist, you know. So these were important movies, and not only were they important, some of them were really good, including the original Spider-Man movie. This Sam Raimi movie was amazing. It was just, everything about it is just so good. And Spider-Man is obviously a great hero to base a movie on, and Tobey Maguire, I think, nailed it. I think he really nailed Peter Parker, and he was a good Spider-Man as well. And it's not just a nostalgia speaking, but genuinely, he was great. Raimi directed something brilliant, and it was one of the best, even now, one of the best Marvel movies out there. This was just fantastic. Everything about it, it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. In 9th place is Captain America, The Winter Soldier. Just like Civil War and like I mentioned earlier, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Winter Soldier is a movie where they did something different. It felt different. It didn't feel as much about, I mean, it still felt like MCU, but it felt like it was something different tonally. It was like a spy movie in a way. It was very serious as well. There were still jokes in there, sure, but it was very much a serious movie. For me, what I like most about the Captain America movies is how they're much more serious than the rest of the movies, which is great because he's a serious character, so it all makes sense. But Winter Soldier and Civil War especially, they got really serious. And Winter Soldier, I think, the fact that it was serious and the fact they had a great storyline and the fact that it really worked, I just loved everything about it. And the Winter Soldier storyline, the whole Bucky twist as well, that was done brilliantly. I love it. Although, one thing though, the MCU tends to repeat a trope of having the hero face an evil version of themselves. Like, there's Black Panther and Killmonger, there's Captain America Winter Soldier, there's Thor and Loki, you know, I can name more, I'm sure, but there's so many instances. Even Iron Man, like Tony Stark and what's the bald guy's name? I forgot his damn name. Evil version of himself as well. That's another thing. Like, the MCU loves doing evil versions. Hulk and flipping what was the guy's name in Incredible Hulk? The villain. I can't remember the guy's name. What was his name? The monster Hulk fought at the end of Incredible Hulk. Whoever that is. Again, an evil version of Hulk. Like, the MCU likes making the heroes fight evil versions of themselves. It's just it's rather interesting. That's all I'm saying. It's not a criticism, but I like repeating that. But in Winter Soldier, it's done really well. It's done really well. In 8th place is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Now, to many people, this is the best Spider-Man movie. And I would not disagree with you entirely. It is a great movie. If you are a Spider-Man fan or a Marvel fan, and you somehow haven't seen this because it's animation, then what are you doing? Get off your ass. Actually, no, get on your ass and watch the movie. I don't know why I'm saying that. You're probably seeing it anyway. Like, come on. But still, Spider-Verse is an amazing Spider-Man movie, and it also focuses on Miles Morales rather than Peter Parker. Peter Parker's still in it. It's still in it. There's multiple Spider people in it. Obviously, there's Spider-Gwen. There's so many Spider characters in this movie, which is cool to see them all introduced in the same movie. I would love to see a live-action version of it, to be honest. And if it included Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland as well, that would just be unreal. If they could somehow do that, include Tom Hardy Venom maybe, and Miles Morales as well. Yeah, that could be a cool live-action movie. I'm just saying, Sony, you could make it happen. You could make it happen. But as for Spider-Verse itself, the focus on Miles Morales, I think it felt fresh because we've gotten 3 Peter Parkers in live action so far. And this is not live action, but the fact that it focused on a different Spider-Man, I think was a really good thing. Like, they needed to focus on something fresh, and it was a good, fresh storyline, and it really worked. I think Morales in this movie really worked, and it had a great storyline. Wilson Fisk was a pretty crazy villain. And yeah, just everything about it, it just felt like it was just ripped out of a comic book. And, you know, when it feels like that in a comic book movie, then you know you've done a good job. And this is just amazing. In 7th place is XMen, Days of Future Past. Now, I told you how much I loved First Class. Days of Future Past is even better. This, for me, is the best X-Men team-up movie that we have seen. Okay, this movie is amazing. I love everything about it. It is unreal. There's even an extended edition of it, which I haven't seen yet. I might have to see that for a future episode of the Movie Monday, to be honest. That's my episode. But Days of Future Past is so damn good. Every time I watch it, it gets even better as well. I love it. Everything about it. The time travel, the fight scenes, the storylines, the emotion. There's a lot of emotional scenes. There's old Xavier and young Xavier meeting. That's a crazy thing. Fassbender's still there as Magneto. I love him as Magneto, man. He's so good. McAvoy as well as Professor X. He is so good as well. Didn't mention him for First Class, but he's so damn good as well. Obviously, Hugh Jackman's in this. He's playing a big role as Wolverine. There's so many good performances in this as well. The cast is amazing. There's so many things I could pick out from this movie that are just special and great. And I just loved everything about this movie. This was amazing, man. I need to see it again. I want to see this again now. I want to see this again. But Days of Future Past, if you somehow haven't seen this, I don't know, if you haven't seen this and you're watching this video, then what are you doing? What are you doing? In 6th place, maybe this is the nostalgia talking, but to be fair, it's still a great movie, is Spider-Man 2. Yes, I put it above Into the Spider-Verse. I'm sorry. I love Spider-Verse. I think it's amazing. I just can't put it above Spider-Man 2. For me, Spider-Man 2 is the Spider-Man movie. It's not perfection, but it's pretty damn close, okay? I don't think there will ever be a Spider-Man movie better than that one. I think, honestly, it was that good. It was so good. I love it. there's not much else to say really. I love that movie, and for me, it might be nostalgia. It might be nostalgia because I grew up with these Spider-Man movies, but it stays above SpiderVerse for me. It still stays above SpiderVerse. I gotta say, Spider-Man 2 is still the king of the Spider-Man movies. Just my opinion, okay? Don't kill me. In 5th place is Avengers Infinity War. This is the movie that I waited a decade for. Not a decade, actually. 2012. So 2012, 28, 6 years. I waited 6 years for this movie. Like, what I always wanted to see when I was younger was a superhero movie where a lot of heroes from the same universe teamed up. And with the Avengers, the first one, I finally got it. And I was just mesmerized. I loved it. I loved watching the movie in the cinema. That was just a really fun experience. And then they tease Thanos. And I'm just like, yes, there's a big bad villain. They're going to team up again to fight him. I'm looking forward to this. So I was waiting 6 years. A lot of MC movies came in between that period, obviously. Introduced a lot more characters. Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther, Doctor Strange. They introduced so many different characters. And Spider-Man as well. And I was just like, they're going to put all these people into one movie to fight Thanos. I cannot wait to see this. I was so excited. I was hyped for this movie for a long time. There is not a movie, I mean there is, but like in terms of like movies I look forward to in terms of my life, this was up there with like movies I look forward to most. There was Infinity War, there was Endgame, there was Dark Knight Rises, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and the Batman coming up next year as well. In terms of like what I've looked forward to the most in my life, is these movies. But Infinity War I waited for like 6 years. Like I was excited from from 2012 to see this movie against Thanos, and in 2014 they announced Infinity War, and I was even more excited, and I was just waiting and waiting. It seemed like an age waiting for this movie, and I finally got it, and they delivered something brilliant. And for me, this is the best MCU movie, much better than Endgame. I do still like Endgame, I appreciate Endgame, but Infinity War for me is the Avengers movie. This is the GOAT Avengers movie, the GOAT MCU movie. Infinity War was brilliant, plus the villain wins, and that's something different. I like when they provide something different, and even though there's a lot of jokes in this, it's still very dark and serious, and some of the deaths do really get you. But that's what I like about it, you know? The villain wins, you lose certain heroes, you get to see a storyline where the heroes are the underdogs and they try to fight off this guy with all their might and all their power, and in the end they still lose. And Thanos, he's faced with all these heroes, he has to keep getting through different obstacles, and he somehow perseveres, and he somehow manages to get all the stones. He is the epitome of, I guess, motivation and hunger. Like, he really had the desire to actually complete this mission. He would not give up no matter what, no matter how many hits he took. Him as a villain was just amazing, and he wasn't even the villain in his eyes. Obviously, no villain is, like, every villain's a hero to their own story, but Thanos was just, like, he really believed he was doing something good for the universe. It wasn't just about killing people. He wanted to really do something good, and because of that, he held back with quite a few people. Like, I think if he didn't hold back, he would have killed a lot more Avengers. I'm glad he didn't, but yeah, the deaths were pretty brutal. Like, the first scene really sets the tone. That first scene probably is the best part of the movie, arguably. Might be unpopular there, but it really sets the tone for who Thanos is and what he does. Like, he beats up Thor, he beats up the Hulk, he kills Loki, and he kills what's his name, Heimdall as well. And it's all like in the first 5 minutes, and the speech he gave as well, dread it, run from it. It's just how menacing it is, how scary it is. It's such a scary first scene, and I just love everything about it. That's one of the best scenes I've seen in the MCU. That was just unreal. But yeah, just there's so many things in this movie that I love, and I really appreciate this. Like, I'm gonna watch this probably about 50 times in my life. Probably actually a lot more than that. I watched The Dark Knight like 50 times in my life, and I'm probably gonna watch that more as well. Like, there's movies that I want to watch again and again and again and again, and that is The Dark Knight, and now this Infinity War is just, it's just awesome. I just love it. I just absolutely love it. All right, so in fourth place, let's stop drooling over Infinity War, right? Let's get into this ranking. In fourth place is Logan. This, for me, is the best Marvel movie. Not maybe Marvel, obviously, but it's obviously a Fox movie, but like, it's Marvel characters, okay? So I'm still going to say it's a Marvel movie. But Logan, for me, is the best movie based on Marvel characters. For me, this is it. This is the best comic book movie since The Dark Knight. In my opinion, it's really that good. It delivered an emotional ending to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. After 17 years of playing the character, they delivered an emotional ending that almost made me cry. Like, the way he died and the way the girl called him dad, I'm not even a father, but that hurt me. That hurt me deeply. Like, that is... Like, I don't understand why these things don't get Oscar nominations. Like, Hugh Jackman deserved a nomination for this movie. Like, he was genuinely that good. Genuinely, he was that good, in my opinion. I think he deserved some sort of nomination. But really, though, this movie is great. It's about him protecting this girl, and also about him trying to... he wants to die, but it also develops into... it develops his character in a way, because like in this movie he wants to die, he's already depressed, but he has the will to live because he's helping this girl, and he grows closer to this girl, closer relationship as they go along in the movie, and it's just amazing, and it's emotional, and it's just really brutal. And I love the action as well. The action is brutal. It's like a really gut-wrenching, brutal movie, a lot of gore and blood. It's R-rated, obviously, so it makes sense, but I just love how dark it is and how emotional it is, and I think they just delivered on what they were going for, and it was an amazing ending. And for me, this is where the franchise ended, okay? Screw your Dark Phoenix, okay? This franchise ended with Logan. Logan was the perfect ending. It was just amazing, okay? It was just amazing. In third place is Joker. Yes, I got a review for this on my channel, so you can check it out if you want for my full thoughts. But this movie was amazing. Joaquin Phoenix was the reason it was amazing. He really carried this movie. He was fantastic as the Joker. He was so good. He was so good. And this movie was just a masterpiece and a great character study. In second place, now this might surprise you, is Batman Begins. Yes, I have Batman Begins in second place. This, for me, is extremely underrated because I believe it is almost, and I say almost, as good as The Dark Knight. And I've just spoiled number one for you. But never mind. It's almost as good as The Dark Knight. For me, the main reason The Dark Knight's better is because of the Joker. He's the reason The Dark Knight is better. And he does elevate it, to be fair. But for me, the Batman Begins movie is almost as good. I think this is the best Batman origin story we've seen on screen. I like how serious and dark it is, and how it's a whole new take to the character. Christian Bale was fantastic, in my opinion. He's a great actor anyway, regardless. But I think he's a great Batman. And Christopher Nolan's favorite director as well. The way he directs movies, the way he tells stories, is just so unique and so different. And it's so great at the same time. Like, look at the movies he's made over time. He's made so many different movies in different genres. And he always seems to surprise you with something, you know? Even if you don't like the movie, he still surprises you. But I like almost all of his movies. Like, I really enjoy his movies. His movies are great. And with this trilogy, he did an amazing job. And I felt the way this trilogy started was very important because it needed to work. If this didn't work, then, you know, the trilogy might not turn out the same. So it's an important movie as well. And I think not only did it work, it was just amazing. Batman Begins, I think, was an amazing movie. And I just think it's underrated. Like, not many people think of it as like one of the greats in terms of like superhero movies or movies in general. But Batman Begins for me is unreal. For me, this is one of the best movies. Like, maybe not one of the best movies. That's a bit too high. That's overrating it. But in terms of like comic book movies, superhero movies, this is up there, in my opinion. This is really up there. And for me, it's not that far off The Dark Knight. I think it is that good. And this is the reason I love Batman so much. Favorite superhero because of this trilogy. The first two movies, Begins and The Dark Knight. I love it. I love it. I could watch this trilogy again and again and again. It's just the way it's all done. It's beautiful. There are a few faults, like obviously the Batmobile is a bit overpowered, to be honest. Like, it's crazy that he would get a vehicle like that. It's not really realistic, but still it is good. And also, speaking of realistic, they do focus quite a lot on realism. Regardless of the Batmobile, never mind that, but they do focus on it being as realistic as possible, and I think they played this really well. This is a great movie. In first place is The Dark Knight. Now, I don't need to say much. For me, this is the GOAT, the undisputed GOAT. Heath Ledger was amazing, and he was the main reason why it was so great, obviously. But the storyline, the ending, which is quite confusing to some people, obviously. I mean, the way it ends is quite interesting and intriguing, but it's an amazing, thought-provoking ending, and I just liked how they ended it. It was very interesting, very different to how these movies usually end, and I think they really delivered this. They really delivered this really well, and I honestly think Rises could have been something amazing if we hadn't lost Heath Ledger, but unfortunately we lost him. Rest in peace, Heath. But still, like, the way this movie ended and the way this movie was as a whole, as a storyline, was brilliant. The way they built up to the Joker as well, the way Heath Ledger acted it out, it was just all-round brilliant performances from all the cast. It's not perfect. Rachel is the main downside to the movie, to be honest. The actress change is a bit weird as well. That was very very strange. But yeah, there's so many great scenes, and also, how could I not mention the interrogation scene? Do I need to say anything else? I don't need to say anything else. I just need to mention that scene, and you know how good it is. It was brilliant. It was beautiful. Alright, so there's my top 10. So yeah, Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Joker, Logan, Infinity War, Spider-Man 2, Days of Future Past, SpiderVerse, Winter Soldier, and Spider-Man. If you disagree, that is okay. Let me know your favourites down below. Don't need to name your top 10. Just name Name superhero movies that you appreciate. Whether they're great or just okay. If you appreciate them, if you like them, comment down below. I get like one comment a video, so like, you know, hello to the one guy, you know, thanks for your comment. I'm kidding. I'm not kidding, but I'm just, you know, if I get more than 2 comments, then I'll be very appreciative. This is your boy Davidoff. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and see ya.